Picture this. You're standing in the grocery store checkout line, and you've got two choices. You can buy the big 24-pack of toilet paper for $18, which comes out to like 75 cents per roll. Or you can buy the 4-pack for $5, which is over $1 per roll. You know the math. You know the 24-pack is the better deal. But you've got $23 in your checking account and rent is due in 3 days, so you grab the 4-pack and move on. And here's the kicker. You just paid a 35% premium for being broke. That's not a shopping mistake. That's not poor planning. That's a poverty tax, and it's charging you every single day. My name is James, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the invisible systems that keep people stuck in place. If you're someone who's ever felt like the financial rules are designed for people with money they already have, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you see the math behind what you've been feeling. So before we dive into the numbers, let me ask you something. When you think about why some people can't get ahead financially, what comes to mind? Most people assume it's about spending habits, right? Like, poor people just need to budget better, make smarter choices, stop buying lattes or whatever. But here's what most people don't realize. The entire economy is structured to charge you more when you have less. I'm not talking about lifestyle inflation or keeping up with the Joneses. I'm talking about identical products and services that literally cost more if you're poor. The same car loan, the same pair of boots, the same checking account, all more expensive for the person with less money. What's actually happening is that wealth buys access to bulk discounts, zero-interest financing, fee-free banking, and quality goods that last. Poverty forces you into a high-cost version of the same economy. Think about it this way. Being broke is like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. You're working just as hard as everyone else. You're putting water in, but there's a leak at the bottom that's designed into the system. And the less water you have in the tub to start with, the faster it drains. Now, here's what happens in your brain when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Psychologists call this scarcity mindset, and it's not a character flaw. It's a survival response. When your brain detects genuine scarcity, when you're constantly making decisions under financial stress, your cognitive bandwidth actually shrinks. There was a Princeton study that found that financial stress produces a cognitive impact equivalent to losing 13 IQ points. Think about that. The stress of being broke makes it harder to make the smart decisions that would help you not be broke. But it gets worse. When you're in survival mode, you're forced into short-term thinking. You literally can't afford to think long-term because the crisis is today. Rent is due Thursday. The car needs gas to get to work tomorrow. The kid needs lunch money. Your brain is in triage mode, and in triage mode, you make the financially rational short-term decision that costs you more long-term. Decision fatigue kicks in too. When you're making constant high-stakes decisions with limited resources, your willpower depletes. That's why the checkout line candy gets you at the end of a long day. You've already made 47 difficult financial decisions before lunch. Your brain is exhausted. And here's the cruel irony. The same decision that would be low stakes for someone with money, should I fix this now or wait, becomes a high-stakes gamble when you're broke. Because if you guess wrong, if you wait, and the problem gets worse, you can't afford the bigger repair bill. But if you pay for it now, you might not make rent. Every decision has consequences that cascade. Okay, let's run the real numbers on what I call the broke tax. We'll start with something simple. Banking fees. If you've got $5,000 sitting in your checking account, your bank probably charges you $0 in monthly fees. You might even earn a tiny bit of interest. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you occasionally dip below their minimum balance, you're paying $12 per month in maintenance fees. That's $104 per year just for the privilege of being broke. Now let's add overdraft fees. One bounce transaction because your paycheck hit a day late, that's $35. Most people who pay overdraft fees pay multiple times per year. Let's say 3 times. That's another 1 in 5 annually. We're at $249 just in banking fees. But here's where it gets interesting. Let's talk about that toilet paper example from the beginning. Across a year, buying the small pack instead of the bulk pack because you can't afford the upfront cost. On toilet paper alone, you're probably spending an extra 40 per year. Now multiply that across every single household item. Laundry detergent, paper towels, trash bags, canned goods, rice, pasta. Researchers estimate the inability to buy in bulk costs low-income households between $500 and $1,000 per year. Now, let's talk about transportation. You need a car to get to work, but you can't afford a reliable used car with cash, so you get a high-interest auto loan. Someone with good credit gets 4% interest. You get 18% on a $15,000 loan over 5 years. That's the difference between paying $2,500 in interest versus paying $7,500 in interest. That's $5,000 extra dollars for the exact same car, just because you were broke when you bought it. Or maybe you can't even qualify for a car loan, so you're stuck in the predatory buy here, pay here lot, where a $8,000 car costs $15,000 after all the fees and interest. And when it breaks down because it was a lemon, you don't have savings for the repair, so you either lose the car and all the money you've put in, or you take out a payday loan at 400% APR. When you add it all up, banking fees, bulk buying premium, higher interest rates, lower quality goods that need replacing sooner, payday loans, late fees, researchers estimate that being poor costs an extra $2,000 to $4,000 per year. That's money you're paying as a penalty for not having money. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but rich people have advantages in every area of life. This is just how the world works. And there's some truth to that, but here's what's really going on. These aren't random market forces. These are designed systems. Banks designed fee structures that extract money from people with the least. Retailers designed pricing that rewards people who can afford to spend more upfront. Lenders designed interest rate structures that penalize people for not having wealth. You might also be thinking, I'll just work my way up, and then I won't have to deal with this. And I get it, that's the dream. But here's the trap. While you're paying the broke tax, you're falling further behind people who started with more money. They're investing the $3,000 you're spending on the poverty premium. After 10 years, with compound returns, that $3,000 per year is worth $40,000. You're not just paying more. You're paying more while they're building wealth with the money you don't have. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like day to day. Before you build any financial cushion, your check engine light comes on and you feel your stomach drop. You're mentally calculating whether you can push it to next month, whether you can skip the oil change, whether you can risk it. You drive more carefully. You avoid the highway. You pray. Every noise the car makes is a potential catastrophe countdown. After you build a $2,000 emergency fund, your check engine light comes on and you feel annoyed. You schedule the appointment, you get it fixed, you move on with your life. It's an inconvenience, not an identity crisis. Before financial cushion, your boss is a nightmare, but you can't quit because you'd miss a single paycheck and everything would collapse. You take disrespect, you work unpaid overtime, you say yes to everything because you have zero leverage. You are trapped by your own survival needs. After financial cushion, your boss crosses a line and you start quietly looking for other jobs. You have options. You can negotiate. You can set boundaries. That changes everything about how you show up to work. Before, you get invited to a friend's wedding 2 states away. You can't afford the hotel or the time off work, so you make up an excuse and feel terrible about it. You're slowly becoming isolated from your own social circle because you can't afford to maintain friendships. After you book the trip, you enjoy yourself. You strengthen relationships that might later lead to job opportunities or business partnerships or just, human connection that makes life worth living. But here's something most people don't talk about, and this is where it gets really interesting. The broke tax doesn't just cost you money. It costs you opportunities you never even see. When you're spending mental energy on survival calculations, you're not spending it on skill development, networking, or recognizing opportunities. You're not taking the career risk that could double your income because you can't afford for it not to work out. Wealthy people talk about calculated risks. But you can't calculate risk when failure means homelessness. So you stay stuck in the safe, low-paying job while someone else with a safety net takes a risk on a startup or a new industry, and their career takes off. And here's the relationship piece. Nobody wants to say out loud, financial stress is the #1 cause of divorce and breakups. When you're constantly fighting about money, when every decision is a negotiation with scarcity, it erodes intimacy. It erodes trust. It makes you and your partner adversaries instead of teammates. The poverty tax doesn't just cost money, it costs you the emotional bandwidth to maintain relationships. Here's where most people mess this up. When they finally get a little bit of breathing room, they treat their first financial cushion like finish line instead of a foundation. They finally get $1,000 saved, and they think, I made it, I can relax now, and they stop the behaviors that got them there. Or, here's the other trap I see constantly. Lifestyle inflation that's actually just delayed gratification catching up. You've been denying yourself for so long that when you finally have a little money, you binge. You upgrade everything at once. And I get it, you've earned it. But if you jump from broke to a higher cost lifestyle without building the foundation, you're just moving from one paycheck to paycheck level to a more expensive paycheck to paycheck level. The trap is thinking that earning more solves this automatically. It doesn't. I know people making 6 figures who are still paying the broke tax because they never built the buffer that lets them think long term. Because here's the thing. This isn't just about money. This is about power and freedom and dignity. Every time you have to make a financial decision from a position of desperation instead of choice, you lose a little piece of autonomy. You become someone who reacts instead of someone who decides. The real transformation isn't hitting some arbitrary number in your bank account. It's becoming the type of person who makes decisions from abundance instead of scarcity, who thinks in terms of value instead of just price, who has the breathing room to be generous, to take strategic risks, to invest in themselves. And here's the ironic part. The person posting their luxury purchases on Instagram is probably stressed about money, while the person driving the paid-off Honda is quietly building wealth and sleeping like a baby. Because wealth isn't about what you show, it's about what you don't have to worry about. So here's the core insight. The poverty tax is real. It's expensive, and it's designed to keep you stuck. But understanding how it works is the first step to dismantling its power over your life. I know you're probably feeling the weight of it right now. I know it feels overwhelming. But here's what I need you to understand. Every dollar you manage to save isn't just a dollar. It's a dollar that stops paying the broke tax. Your future self is counting on you to make decisions today that buy back your freedom tomorrow. The system is rigged, but you don't have to stay stuck in it. Start today.